Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 41 today in Season 3 for the Brazilian Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the season opener at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, very new for Season 3, then be sure to check the one out before you see this one. It was a cracking season opener, a lot of action and chaos in Las Vegas, but Piastri was the one that came out on top, winning his first Formula 1 race of his career. McLaren looking very strong, ominously strong really. If Bottas had got some clean air in that race, I think they would have been clear, and that's a worry for not only our team, but everyone else. And really with that, we did very well to actually salvage P2. It could have been a lot less than that. We got away and kind of got into some clean air, and everyone else was too busy fighting each other basically, so we got a bit lucky there, and potentially Brazil might be a harder Grand Prix for us, because I was really tempted at getting an ultimate drag reduction upgrade going. That wouldn't even come in time for Sao Paulo. It'd be for the next Grand Prix at Melbourne. But at the same time, constantly now in the back of my mind, it's looking towards building our engine for next season. We've got over 3,000 R&D points, some good work from last episode in the practice programs, and I couldn't just not put that and bank that in to our engine build. So we've banked in 3,000 R&D points into the research. So we're down back again to like 266. I think now the following episode, if we have enough R&D points, I think that's now when we'll buy that drag reduction upgrade, because we're going to need it. The McLarens look like they pretty much have maxed out drag reduction. They were so slippery in a straight line. Doesn't matter that I think we've still got a top 3 engine on this grid currently with the Renault power unit. They were so slippery, and other teams also were so slippery in a straight line. So we've banked this research, 5,000 R&D. Obviously we already paid in 40 million at the start of this season. At some point we'll have to pay in the remaining 10 million to finalize the engine build, and then of course the R&D is what's going to determine how good of an engine we can build for season 4. So we banked in 3,000. I would have loved to upgrade the car, because we are losing ground now to other teams, but this is the fine balancing act. So for me personally, I think banking 3,000 is quite good now, and then maybe give us a good run of 2 races where we're actually upgrading the car, and we're going to need to, because others have made upgrades, Mercedes being the biggest one, and Ferrari as well, to be fair. So Ferrari and Mercedes could look better at Sao Paulo compared to how they were in Las Vegas. I mean, Ferrari definitely need to look a lot better, because they were floundering at Las Vegas. But yeah, Mercedes now the second best on the grid. McLaren, though, still clear. Even though they've not made an upgrade, they're still clear by a decent margin, I think you could say, relative to the others. You know, Merc, Red Bull, Ferrari, Aston, so closely packed together. We're kind of on our own now, so until we get an upgrade going, we might be in a bit of a no man's land. I mean, in terms of relative for the grid spread, as I've said before, the scaling of this R&D chart is quite tiny, so we probably still will be close to these teams, and us as a driver, and hopefully Gasly as a driver, can make that difference. But it may be a harder time than we found at Las Vegas, for example, where we managed to bag pole position on merit. The car was going well, but it did seem like at Las Vegas, unlike previous 2 seasons, the car was definitely quicker in qualifying, and in the race we were actually losing some pace, which is very unorthodox, you know, as I said in that episode, very much so for me. I'm not a great qualifier anyway usually, so to bag pole but then go backwards in that race was a bit of a surprise to me. So we'll see how it goes in this episode. It's a sprint weekend, of course, as well here at Sao Paulo. So we've got an overcast qualifying on the Friday. Overcast at the moment, and there is even some rain forecast for later on today. So we're going to have to see how we go through those sessions when the rain starts falling. But right now in Q1, P8, Gasly P10, it's okay. I imagine this is kind of where we are in terms of the actual dry pace, but at the same time, it was a bit of a cold circuit. The car did feel really stiff for some reason compared to Las Vegas, which was a worry for me. The car doesn't feel as good around this circuit as it did Las Vegas, so I don't know whether we're going to be on the back foot or not, but we're not going to really find out, because going into Q2, it is raining, and this might actually be to our benefit. The track is feeling really difficult, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. You can see how much understeer we've got and how much I'm having to turn the steering wheel, and the front end is just not biting, not responding, and I was very worried about our pace. But if you look at the top right, purple second sector, we got up to second place. So despite the car feeling so bad, we've actually got some pace. Gasly's up there in P3 as well. So I think it's a case of, like in real life F1, it's just the track, the conditions are so difficult. And so you kind of got to put out your mind how bad the lap feels, because the time is there. The lap time is there. And we go quickest of anyone on that third and final lap, and we top Q2. Gasly P5. It's a strong return. The car is actually going better relative to other teams in these wet conditions. Forgetting how awful it feels, I'm sure it must feel that awful for everyone, basically, but both McLaren's through. AlphaTauri of Tsunoda is through, and it's another shocker for Ferrari. Despite the upgrades, they've been knocked out, both of them, out of Q2, and they got out-qualified by Logan Sargent in the Alfa Romeo Haas in P11. That is embarrassing for the Scuderia. Tsunoda's done incredible in these conditions to be P9, and an AlphaTauri that is very much, I think, one of the slowest cars on this grid, just showing in these wet conditions, as the saying goes, you know, the rain is a great equalizer in terms of car pace, and then it's all about the drivers. And in Q2, we were the master of those conditions, wrestling, dancing this car through. Q3, bit of an odd one. It stopped raining, so it's not actually as damp on the circuit, and that actually maybe is leaning more back towards the AI teams, because, like I said, I think it seemed like our car was actually going really well in those wetter conditions, and now it's slightly drier. The track is even worse to drive because there's a little bit less grip from the inters. As you can clearly see, I make a howler of a mistake there on the throttle, and we're going to have to back out of this lap then. So Piastri's P1. We are P2 at the moment, but Piastri's 1 second ahead of us in first place, so definitely there's way more time to find for everyone. But that just goes to show how tricky things are. The fact that Piastri's 1 second ahead of me, and I'm still in P2. So everyone else at this point in qualifying has had a horrendous time of it. And to my shock, my engineers recommend me switching to the soft compound of tyre for my final lap. I was ready to go out there for a final inters run. Would be tricky, but we were still in P2, and we are still in P2 right now. But yeah, apparently it's soft tyres. But by the time we go out, it's a bit of an odd one because it's dried up, but it was still very, very slippery out there. We are gaining time, you know, 1.6 seconds. We're down to P10, so everyone has improved by so much, but it's so hard to tell where we're going to be now with 1.8 seconds improved across the lot. Oh my god, it's P10. P10. 1 second off pole position from Piastri in those conditions. The AI is so good in those conditions when it's just come off wet and you're on to dry, or vice versa. They're so good in those conditions. Gasly's outdone me by 5/10. I've just been outdone by the AI today, completely. Gasly P5, that's solid for him, but the McLaren's looking great. 1-3. Albon's had a stonker for Aston Martin up in P2, whilst Fernando Alonso's in P7. The Red Bull's struggling a little bit more, you know, along with myself, and then Tsunoda couldn't be expected to do any better, but, I mean, Tsunoda beat me, so he's done amazingly in an AlphaTauri. So, yeah, really not a great way to end qualifying there, but we've now got a chance to make up for it, because it's now time for this Saturday sprint. It's fully dry, though, so I really don't know what the pace is going to be like, but we go to 5 red lights, and the sprint here in Brazil is underway. It's a very slow start for Norris, for Gasly even as well, and we charge through up into P6. Gasly going on the outside there. Verstappen just gets ahead of Russell and Albon, who are side by side. Albon from the front row down to P5. Gasly's re-overtaken us after that initial poor getaway, but the biggest loser was probably Lando Norris from P4 down to P9. A shocking start for him. We had to do some evasive driving around the outside of cars and the inside and threading it through. All the meanwhile, cool, calm, collected, Oscar Piastri, off the high of winning the opening race, leads a McLaren 1-2. Bottas in second place. this is maybe the first chance we're going to see what Bottas has in his locker. Can he take the fight to Piastri? You know, if McLaren are going to dominate this season, then we want to see a Piastri v Bottas title fight. The rest of us, we have some catching up to do, but for us, we have catching up to do just first and foremost with overtaking Gasly immediately, and then we can see what we can do versus other teams. But this is the first time myself and Gasly will properly battle. Las Vegas, he got the better of us on the opening lap, but then we didn't really race him too much. It was all done on strategy, but now this is our first chance to see what Gasly has. 99 rated, race winner from last season. A lot of expectations from him as a teammate. We never really battled Ricciardo too much, but we're battling Gasly now, round 2 of the season, and we're going to get the better of him on the inside. It was close. He defended well in the first few turns, but we just had the overshoot. DRS obviously on lap 3 as well to overtake him. Is Fernando Alonso now on lap 4, going very slowly, and that is going to be frustrating for Fernando. Put faith in Aston Martin. They should have been looking pretty good this season, but they haven't really delivered in the first round. Albon's really stuffed the start, and Alonso now is out of the Grand Prix. Speaking of Albon, though, we're having a go at him on the outside. He does well to place the car to the inside, making it awkward for us. We switch to the left, to the right. We're going all over the shop, trying to kind of put Albon under pressure and maybe look to make a move. I did think about a move on the inside there, I'm not going to lie, but Albon was just a bit too far ahead in the brake zone. Albon defensive again into turn 1, lap 5, holding the inside line, so close to making some pretty big contact there as Albon is getting the elbow out, and he's really testing of how far he can push us. So this is actually some great defensive work from the AI here. Albon is going to squeeze us onto the grass. We dip both tyres on the left-hand side into the grass, trying to stay committed to the inside, but Albon was just not having any of it here. It's good to see, to be honest. This is some really aggressive defending from an AI, but eventually, hopefully, we can get the job done this time around on the inside into the center S. We're going to get the elbow out ourselves and squeeze Albon out for P5. Finally got that move done, thank God, because now we've got clean air to chase after Russell and Verstappen. I think Russell is looking likely to make a move on Verstappen, and if they battle, I'm hoping we can catch both of them, really, to try and go for that top 3. But now this is Gasly going in for the move. Yes, go on, Pierre. On lap 7, overtaking Albon. Lovely move on the outside of the second part of the center S. Good to see our teammate early on in this season making some aggressive moves like that, and he's up into P6, and hopefully he can start to make some progress. As I alluded to, you can see Russell right up behind Verstappen, looking likely to make the pass. Mercedes now quicker than Red Bull on paper. Meanwhile, Bottas just keeps Piastri honest within a quarter of a second, as Russell now is going for the pass with DRS to the inside, and the Brit has got the move done up into 3rd place for Mercedes. Good to see for them. Not so great for Red Bull. Norris still stuck down in P8 with traffic, and Verstappen now maybe is going to be susceptible to us, but we're now focusing on the battle for P1. Bottas has been pressurizing Piastri this entire race, but he's now going for it to the inside. The flying fin on the inside. The McLaren side by side, but Bottas will get the lead of the sprint with only 3 laps to go, and he's taking the fight to his teammate and showing that he may be a contender this season. He's not going to take Piastri winning the first race lightly, and that he is here. Bottas has arrived here in this championship fight, in this championship early on. It is early days, but to be honest, if you look at it, it really probably will include McLaren with how quick they are right now. It's a 1-2. They're miles ahead of Russell as we try to close up on Verstappen. 1.1 behind. Now lap 12. We are within 1 second, but our DRS has broken. We lost a bit of time to Verstappen and a few little moments of oversteer before this lap, but then by the time we finally caught up to him, worst timing ever. DRS broken. There's no way we can do what Hamilton did to us here at Sao Paulo in Season 2, where he got us on the line, you know, on the run-up there. You know, Verstappen's actually got a great exit, great acceleration. The tyre wear's not been great on these softs at lap 12, and Verstappen's going to maintain the P4. For us, P5, we've done a lot of fighting to get here, but it was a little worrisome. I really think, you know, come race day, full Grand Prix, there is some forecast for some rain, I kind of want it to rain. I definitely want it to rain because I think our car will be quicker. In dry conditions, we just don't have the same pace we showed in the wet. But what a day for Bottas there. He needed this. After a difficult first race where he got caught up in battling us a lot of the time and other people and fell away and Piastri dominated, this was the answer he needed. That he is here. He is not going to take Piastri sitting down, and he is capable of winning races. It's not a full Grand Prix win. It's a sprint win. But now he's got a great chance for the full Grand Prix because he's on pole position then for Sunday's Grand Prix. It's a front row lockout for McLaren. And it's a third row lockout for myself and Pierre Gasly. I think we can do some work from here. There was some pace in the tank there. We were closing to Verstappen. We just needed a few more laps and our DRS not to break. So I think there's still opportunities to score maybe a good top 5 or top 4 in this race, depending on also the rain. That might just be a big spanner of the works. Who knows, it will play in our hands or not. Let's go to the grid then for the full Brazilian Grand Prix.
Welcome along then to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the very final corner. And just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We're racing today then at Interlagos, a historic 2.7-mile circuit and one of the few anti-clockwise tracks on the calendar. 15 corners in total, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with a technical middle section opening up to a flat-out Sector 3. That gives us our best passing opportunity down into Turn 1. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Verstappen, the owner driver, Gasly, Norris, Albon, Sainz, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Liam Lawson, Sargent, Ocon, Leclerc, Stroll, Ricciardo, Perez, Teo Pourchaire, Mick Schumacher, Hülkenberg and Fernando Alonso rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into Turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So it's overcast here on the formation lap. It's looking a bit doom and gloom, but we're all on dry tyres. A lot of us choosing the softs, Norris on the mediums. I think the thought is that rain maybe is on the way sooner rather than later, but I actually didn't understand how soon it may be, as through into Sector 2 on the formation lap, I was curious, so I just went to ask my engineer on the weather report, you know, what we saying? And he says the rain, as you can see on the subtitle, 5 minutes until rainfall. That's, well, Brazil's quite a short lap, so it's about 5 laps away. So pretty soon into the race, we are going to get that rainfall. So definitely, those of us who have chosen softs will probably be thanking themselves. I think Norris has made a mistake there going on mediums, because I think the rain's going to fall before we start feeling any tyre wear. But Sao Paulo, you never know. It's a track where rain can start to fall and you've still got that grip. Think 2012, you know, sort of vibe. So let's see how it goes. But it's a front row lockup for McLaren. We're P5. We can see Russell ahead of us, Verstappen to the left as we go to 5 red lights. The full Brazilian Grand Prix is underway, and it's a shocking start for Russell and Piastri. We've navigated them, but we almost put it in the wall ourselves, and now it's Gasly and Piastri on the inside, 3 wide into Turn 1. Gasly once again showing he's a quick starter in this car of ours. Las Vegas, it was the race lead on lap 1, and now it's P3 from P6. We're down to P4. Somehow Piastri's maintained second place to keep the 1-2 for McLaren, but Russell and Piastri Piastri just didn't get away. Piastri made up for it for his turn 1, but Russell just absolutely shocking. He almost basically stalled on the grid, kind of, it looked like. Look at this start there. Even Verstappen was slow, and then that's our kind of half spin, nearly careering to the wall, and Gasly, it opens up for him to go down the inside. A little bit of contact with myself and Pierre, actually, as I tried to keep it 3 wide, but it just wasn't possible. Gasly gets squeezed out by Piastri, but look at the onboard from Russell. Just doesn't get away, but then look how close this is. We nearly took out Russell and ourselves. That was inches away from a lap 1 howler, an embarrassment there. And even still, Russell nearly made contact with myself and Verstappen into turn 2. So we evaded probably maybe even a DNF situation twice there, because I got such a good start, but then as I navigated round Russell, the track's a bit cold, we've got heavy fuel, my rear end just stepped out, so that's why we started careering to the wall, and did well to keep it out there. But now we're on the back foot in P4. Verstappen is looking pretty damn mighty. He's on the inside despite us deploying battery down that straight. Verstappen so aggressive with the dive bomb. We're going to keep it in and repay the favour by trying to get our nose in there, but Verstappen is going to stay in P4. We've got to try and come back at him now. Is he going to squeeze us like Albon did? No, he's going to leave us some room to get to the inside, but this is going to be oh so close. Don't want to make contact with him, so we keep it tight on the line, and we're going to be nearly neck and neck now through the subtle left curve to then the uphill right-hander. On the outside though, wash of oversteer with the heavy fuel, and Verstappen is able to maintain P4 as on lap 3. I'm curious about this rain, and my engineer says 5 minutes still on lap 3. He said 5 minutes before the race, and now he's still saying 5 minutes. So it's not going to be lap 5 like I thought. Might be later into this race. So again, like I said, with Sao Paulo, you just don't really know. The weather system is so unpredictable. So we just carry on going and looking to try and re-overtake Verstappen. But that Red Bull being ahead of us is a problem. He's got some really good straight line speed, great acceleration, more really, and you can see for us, we're now starting to struggle through the corners. Not even tyre wear, it's just this car on heavy fuel, kind of like what happened in qualifying in Q1. The car's feeling quite stiff. I'm feeling a bit of understeer, and oh my god, we nearly put it in the wall there. We are not going well at the moment. We're making mistakes, and the car is just not doing what I want it to do. Like, I'm turning in, it's not giving me the response I want. Again, we're locking up now, going wide, and now Russell has a good run of us. The tyres are overheating on the internal carcass temperature. Things are not going our way. It's been a long while since we've really struggled with the My Team car, but this is one of those moments as it starts to rain, and it's 3 abreast. Lando is on the inside here. We've put a tyre in the grass. We've locked up again, and Russell and Norris have got past us. It's a moment of oversteer. Albon's, we are capitulating in this race. We are having a shocker as the rain starts to fall. The track's getting a bit damp now, and it's not helping my case. We managed to re-overtake Albon with a very aggressive little nice move on the outside as we watch Norris and Russell have a bit of a ding-dong battle through the left and then the right intersector too. But this car, it's just not feeling comfy. I haven't felt like this in ages. Like season 1 is probably the last time I felt like this. Or Baku in season 2, actually. Baku in season 2. That's when this car felt this bad through the corners. And I can't put a nose on what it is, because there's oversteer, there's understeer, locking up. It may just be the cold conditions. I don't know. As we watch on, this was whilst I was having that battle and issues with Russell, Norris, and Albon. This is we're seeing Logan Sargent in the Alfa Romeo Haas legitimately stay ahead of Leclerc here. Leclerc having to fight the Alfa Romeo Haas for P13 only. Meanwhile, his teammate Sainz had just overtaken Tsunoda, so Sainz is looking like the stronger Ferrari, but both of them, I mean, Sainz is fighting hard just to get to P8 here, so, you know, Ferrari brought upgrades, but where are they? It's really another quiet weekend maybe for the Scuderia. I mean, Sainz is trying to drag this car up the order to a place where it shouldn't be, looking at that qualifying pace, as he's up into P8, done well, and now he's got clean air to chase after me, actually, 1.5 down the road, and I'm not looking likely to get away from him. I'm trying my best to stick with Russell and Norris, but as the rain continues to fall, it's getting trickier and trickier to kind of suss out the acceleration, the kind of throttle input because it's getting slightly damp now. So there's just a moment where you feel like, oh, the rear end's going to step out. And it's happening to the AI as well. You can see Russell's rear end wagging like a dog's tail through some of these corners. And we're actually now looking a bit quicker in this damp condition. So just like in Q2, can we wrestle this car through and dance it round past Russell and then Lando Norris? You know, we looked stronger in these changeable conditions in Q2 when it was wet and it's all about the driver. So can we make the difference? Because clearly the car is not working that well, but can we make the difference and get up the order, as they're pretty damn quick in a straight line though. So at the moment, frustrating times because we're clearly a bit quicker in the corners, but these guys are mega off that final corner run as we take a lot of curb through the center S, just trying to keep up with them. But again, a moment where I have to lift off. You're seeing the steering wheel twitch a little bit because there's just these moments where the rear end's not as planted as you want because it's wet. But we're lap 12 now. We've had, like, 7 laps of rain. It's still not time for inters. As we go to the inside, we finally get the run on Russell. Contact made as it's a bit over-aggressive from us as we lock up, but we're still going. And the FI have allowed that fight to continue, and we make the move. We get ahead of Russell to P6. Maybe he's facing some tyre wear because Norris is looking a lot stronger on the mediums, but it's still raining on lap 15, and it's not time for inters. But Piastri and Gasly are in, and I think they're going for a dry pit stop. The same with Verstappen. This is mental. Oh, massive crash for Ocon as Russell is just looking to overtake us, and the red flag is out for that horrendous crash by Esteban Ocon. It looked like he just locked up and went straight on in these damn conditions. I think it was about to become intermediate period. It's definitely going to be inters now, surely, on the restart. But my, oh my, it was like Brazil 2012, like 15 laps into this race, raining most of the time, still on dries. But now, well, I think it's time for inters maybe, or surely it would be because of the amount of rain we had. But my engineers are recommending me mediums, and I'm just confused because it's not like Las Vegas where it was a clear mistake in Season 2 where they put me on dries when it was very, very wet. They're recommending me mediums on both screens. And if you base it off pre-red flag, it was still dry enough. There was still enough grip for the dry tyres. So I'm going to stick with what my engineers are saying. We go to the grid. We're all on dries. But look how much wetter it looks out there. It looks like it's inters, but the whole grid is on dry tyres as we get underway. And Norris has had a shocker. Bottas, we're up into P1. We're up into P1. Everyone's got a shocking getaway in these damp conditions. Bottas, though, will get back down the inside because we've locked up. It's too wet. It's time for inters, surely. But all of us here are on dries. Bottas leads the race again. Frustratingly, we've lost it. But I just couldn't slow that car down into turn 1. And again, I can't slow it down here. We put a tyre onto the grass. We're out wide on the runoff area. And Russell is now down the inside. The biggest losers from all of this in the red flag was Piastri, Gasly and Verstappen because they all pit. So they lost positions before the red flag came out. So that's why we started higher on the grid. And that's why we actually had a chance of going P1. Because all we had to do was overtake 2 cars going very slowly off 5 red lights to get into P1. But it's Bottas from Russell, myself, Sainz, Norris, Gasly, Piastri, Verstappen, Perez, and Albon, the top 10, as Alonso just stays in P11. Leclerc gets ahead of Tsunoda. But look, the spray's coming off the rear end. I feel like it's time for inters, but I'm too worried to go to inters because no one is making that decision. We're all too stubborn. We see this in real life F1 a lot of times where the entire grid, it's like a game of chicken and no one wants to blink. Like, everyone is just stubborn and staying on the same set of tyres. And that's what we've got to do, because if we put onto inters and no one comes onto inters, and it's literally like 2012 Sao Paulo, then we're in the mud. But at the moment, we're in the mud as well. I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, because I've got no pace in these conditions. The AI are so overpowered in these situations where it's too wet. But they're a computer, they're pin perfect. Sainz on the inside, Lando trying to make the move. We've gone wide again in that corner. I just can't slow this car down as we go to the inside to re-overtake the Red Bull. But all of a sudden, Carlos Sainz, hang on a minute, I've just only caught this. Sainz is P3. We were just talking about Ferrari having a howl of this race, And because of the red flag and how quick he was at the start, he's managed to jump cars both times, and he's jumped me now into P3 as Gasly is having a good scrap with Lando Norris in Sector 2 to try and get up into P5. Not going to come to any avail as the Red Bull stays in P5. Gasly remains in P6, but yeah, him, Piastri and Verstappen there, P6 to 8, they'll be kicking themselves and so annoyed at the timing of that red flag because they're down there rather than 2, 3, 4 as they should have been, and we're the ones in 4th place trying to close back up to Sainz. DRS is enabled. Really, FIA? I really don't think it's safe enough for DRS in these conditions. Like, I can't even get traction properly through this left-hander, which is usually near flat out, even on heavy fuel conditions. Lap 20, so much has gone on this race, and yet we've flown by this Grand Prix. We're in the last third, almost, of this race. And it's just right now so confusing. I just don't know what to really think. Like, I've thought so many times, every time we pass the pit lane, I should be coming in for inters. But we're all still on mediums. Everyone's still on mediums and hards. I don't understand it. I really don't. And we're now facing some real struggles because it's getting wetter and I'm on the grass now. We've gone wide. Lando's now down the inside. We're going to maybe lose P4, but we get the traction on him and we actually get back into P4. But then through the left-hander, we lose the back end and we've spun it. And the car, we're a passenger in this situation. And Verstappen has crashed into us. Sainz, Alonso, and it's a second red flag of the day. What was I saying? FIA. It was too dangerous for DRS. It was too dangerous for us to be out there on dries. And that's what's happened. This is what you get for everyone being on dries. At some point, someone was going to make a mistake. I've been the one that's made the mistake. And we were a passenger rolling down the hill. And Verstappen's been collected. He's out of the Grand Prix. Apologies to him. I mean, just unfortunate timing of how we're spinning around. And Alonso's out as well. Leclerc, I think he just got a bit of damage. I think he's still in the race as we now go. Oh, Leclerc's been disqualified. Leclerc disqualified as we get going to 5 red lights for this third time today in the full Grand Prix. From P9 it was. We're now up to P8, P7 as we get a good start into turn 1 following Pierre Gasly. It's side by side. Look at Carlos Sainz. Sainz going for the lead in the Ferrari. That donkey of a red car this season is up into second place and is looking to try and take the lead maybe. But Bottas keeps it cool, calm, collected, as you would imagine from the Finn, who stays in first place. Sainz in second, Piastri third ahead of Russell, Norris, Gasly ahead of me in P6. We're P7 and we're now on a set of soft tyres, as you would have seen already, the entire grid on softs. But we have changed tyres 3 times and we've not made a single pit stop in this race as we now dive down the inside of Gasly. He was looking the quicker man for most of this race, but at this moment in time, I think I've actually got the legs on him. He does well to defend and keep me out and keep me at bay there, getting the elbow out through the winding, twisting roller coaster that is Sector 2 here in Sao Paulo. But I feel like we can get Gasly, we can get up into P6, and then we'll see what we can do versus Norris and George Russell in the Mercedes car. But yeah, very, very odd race this has been. You know, 0 pit stops, 3 tyre changes, 2 red flags, and a lot of chaos with the rain on dry tyres as we go purple in the last sector, looking to try and overtake Pierre. Oh my god, Gasly with some very, I mean, good but aggressive defending there as he slid the car just ahead of my nose there. We nearly made contact, but now it's futile. We're going to power past him with DRS and get up into P6. But once again, some really nice battling with our brand new teammate. Good to see. We just need to provide him a better car so both of us can be fighting for higher positions, really. As on lap 27, I'm looking to close up to Norris. We're within 1 second, but we're having little moments of oversteer. And at the same time, that understeer we talked about at the start of the race and in Q1, again, is starting to creep in. It's pretty much like once the tyre is kind of seen its best or the sheen is rubbed off, just the understeer kicks in and it's just not as good as it is in those changeable conditions. At the same time, though, I was having a mare in those very, very changeable conditions when it was just too wet then for me to actually even dance the car around. But look at this, lap 30. Oh, Sainz has gone for it. He's dived down the inside. The Ferrari is going to go into the... What are we watching? Sainz has just made such a last-ditch dive bomb. I really didn't think he was going to go for it, but he's licked the stamp. He sent it and waved goodbye. Sainz in the Ferrari leads the way from Bottas. Unbelievable. Great overtake. And now, lap 30, I'm miles away from Norris. Gasly overtakes me here, and I've not got any pace anymore. Norris gapped me. I was within 1 second, and then the next couple of laps that followed, no pace. He gapped me, everyone gapped me. Lap 35 now, Gasly is 6.6 seconds ahead of me. And I come to realise, onto the last lap, we've got some damage on the front wing. I don't know where this damage has come from, though, by the way, because we didn't make contact with Gasly, and under red flag, you can change damage. So the damage I got crashing into Verstappen should have been changed, but I don't know, maybe there was some glitch where I had some tiny minor damage from that second red flag, I don't know, but whatever the case, that's why our car feels so bad in this last part of the race, as we're watching on the last lap, though. Oh, it was going to be a fairy tale win, potentially, for Carlos Sainz, but in the end of it, the McLaren is too strong. Bottas is too determined, and he is going to come through for the full sweep, the sprint win, and now it's going to be the full Brazilian GP. It's Valtteri Bottas's day. Come rain or sunshine, the Flying Finn has very much flown today and soared up into P1. For us, it's a day to forget, I think.
Another superb Sao Paulo Grand Prix comes to an end then, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
Well, staying out of trouble was probably the most important factor here. In the race where half the field weren't classified at the checkered flag, we were able to guarantee a good result by basically keeping the car running. With their pace and a decent strategy as well, I don't think the race was ever really in doubt.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving that they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
I mean, it may have not been a fairy tale win, but Carlos Sainz has done God's work to get that Ferrari on a podium, splitting the two McLarens. Bottas wins it, mullet in full force on the top step. 1-3 for McLaren, though, that's going to be ominous. Like, once they start getting 1-2s, it's ropes. Like, we all need to upgrade so much. Ferrari maybe more so than others, because even despite being where they are on the R&D chart, before Sainz pulled out this masterclass, they were looking once again nowhere like in Las Vegas. We need upgrades. We seriously do need some upgrades. And Red Bull, Mercedes as well to really bridge that gap. But Bottas and Piastri end the weekend 1-2 in the championship. 4 points the difference. We're leading the pack 20 points behind them. But yeah, we need upgrades. You know, we put some good R&D into the engine build, but I think next episode, 100% we need to buy an actual upgrade for this car for this season. Because look at the constructors. 52-point lead already for McLaren. They are the ones to beat this season. They are looking so good. But what a chaotic race. Like I said, 0 pit stops for me. 3 tyre changes, 2 red flags. Chaos. Absolute chaos. And if you have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.